Stepney was returning home after getting lost that night. He was very traumatized, but very relieved that Sir Topham had saved him. So was his driver. "Sorry for leaving you there," he said. "Oh, no hard feelings," soothed Stepney. "All in one piece." Suddenly, they found themselves in an unknown station. Stepney and his driver looked all around. "You know," said Stepney to his driver, "out of all the stations I've seen, I've never seen this one so big before." His driver then noticed a sign. There it read, "Peel-Godred, only used by electric engines." Stepney was puzzled. Then, from out of nowhere, two strange-looking engines, left from right, screeched to a halt next to him. Stepney was so surprised that he jumped. "Ooh, another visitor!" screamed one of the engines. "About time too," said the other. "We were beginning to feel very lonely." "Whoa!" cried Stepney. "I've never seen such engines like you two." "Oh, my apologies. My name's Stepney. Who might you be?" "I'm very glad you've asked," said a stern voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt. "Oh, hello, sir," said Stepney. "What might you be doing here?" "We're making adjustments to the new Peel-Godred branch line," explained Sir Topham Hatt. "Ah, and I've seen you've met Ellie and Ellen here." "Yes," said Ellie. "Ellie there and Ellen here," smiled Ellen. Then they cried together, "We're the new electric engines." "Electric engines?" asked Stepney, confused. Quite," agreed Sir Topham Hatt. "These engines require neither coal nor oil. They require special wires on their cabs to create enough electricity to make them go. They are more reliable and efficient, I may add." Stepney was secretly impressed. "Well," he said kindly, "welcome to the island of Sodor." Stepney," said Sir Topham Hatt, "would you mind helping these two out and showing them the ropes? I was looking for another engine to help them out, till you came." "Of course I would, sir, if that's all right to you." Stepney then smiled to the two. "Right then, let's get to work, shall we?" Later, Stepney was having a fun time teaching the electric engines how to work. He showed them how to take care with the coaches and how to park correctly at the platform. He even showed them how to handle the freight cars and keep them in line. "This is so much fun," they said to each other. Even the freight cars agreed for once. And soon, everything ran like clockwork. Later, after a hard day's work, Stepney and Percy decided to stay at the sheds with Ellen and Ellie. "Whew," sighed Stepney. "I've worked so hard, and yet somehow, even though my wheels are worn out, I still feel proud." Sniffed Percy. "At least you don't feel put upon." "It's a good thing to be useful," shouted Ellie. Ellen agreed. "Best of all, Sir Topham Hatt is taking a tour along this line. He's asked us to take his train especially." "Well," smirked Stepney, "I won't stop you two from having your fun." "I'm happy for you," said Percy, "but I'd be careful if I were you." "Why's that?" asked Ellen. "Have you ever heard of the shadow engine?" Percy said in a low voice. The two electric engines raised an eyebrow. Percy then quivered. "While we were working on this line, my driver and fireman heard a strange puffing sound. It sounded very deep. But worst of all, there was the deep whistling sound. And then a large shadow slithered past us." I couldn't describe it, but I was so terrified. If you ask me, sighed Percy, my driver must have been hearing things or saw my shadow. Stuff and nonsense, laughed Stepney, but Ellie and Ellen quivered. That doesn't sound too good, shivered Ellen. The sound of a ghost engine on our electrified line. What does electro-fry mean? Asked Percy. The other engines were too tired to answer and drifted to sleep one by one. The next morning, Ellie and Ellen had brought the special coach to the platform. Show your paces, girls, encouraged Sir Tom Hat. I know you'll do well. Ellie and Ellen smiled, but they were still worried about the shadow engine. Stepney knew of this. Tell you what, he called. How about I join you on your trip? You could need some company after all. Oh yes, thank you, Stepney, replied the twins. They were very eager to not go alone. They could really use some company. When everything was ready, they set off on their big adventure. It was very beautiful as they passed by the many villages and parks. Sir Topham Hatt was very impressed. If only my mother were here to see it, he sighed. Everything was going to plan, but suddenly the twins didn't feel scared anymore. Stepney was proud. I think I see the shadow engine, he called. Where? Cried Ellie. Then she looked at her own shadow. Gotcha, chuckled Stepney. The twins couldn't help but laugh. With their wheels cruising along the smooth tracks, everything was going to plan. As they stopped at a red signal. This is not so bad after all, smiled Ellie. I'm glad to be working on this railway, flounced Ellen. I should think so too, smiled Stepney. But remember, there's no such thing as... Stepney was cut off by the sound of a deep whistle. Everyone stopped and looked all around, but there was no one there. Then came the sound of deep puffing. Ellen and Ellie were very frightened. Who's there? They cried. Then the puffing died down. Probably another engine passing by, stated Stepney. Might be Percy or Thomas. Then the whistle came again. It's the shadow engine, cried Ellen. They were so scared. They lurched forward, taking Stepney by surprise. All race for your life, cried the twins. Stop, stop, cried Stepney, but the twins were so frightened they didn't even hear him. Nor did they realize that the signalman had went for his coffee break and had forgotten to set the points to the right track. They veered onto the wrong track. The passengers held on for dear life, and Sir Tom Gnat held his hat. Please, Mr. Shadow Engine, screamed Ellen. Don't hurt us. Go away and leave us at peace. Then, up ahead, Stepney saw they were getting too close to a dead end with huge buffers. Thinking fast, his driver tugged on the whistle chain. The whistle was enough to get the twins' attention. They saw the buffers and immediately braked hard. Stepney helped too. The closer and closer they got to the buffers, the slower and slower they went. The impact of the buffers had slowed the train down. Everyone was relieved, but the passengers, even Sir Topham Hatt, were cross. What is the meaning of this absurdity? He demanded. Before Ellie or Ellen or even Stepney could reply, another voice boomed. Who goes there? Everyone froze. It's the shadow engine, screamed Ellen. No, please go away. Don't hurt us, cried Ellie. Sir Topham Hatt and his advisors looked at him. at the shed. There was a lot of wheezing and hissing at the same time. They decided to inspect it. When they opened the doors, Sir Topham Hatt nearly jumped back in surprise. Inside the shed was a large and rusted red engine. Oh boy, she wheezed. Is it morning already? I say, Bloomer, is that you? Sir Topham Hatt, exclaimed the engine. Everyone stared in confusion. Bloomer, sir? Asked Stepney. These two, inquired Ellen. Know each other? Cried Ellie. Sir Topham Hatt turned around and laughed. Oh, this is your shadow engine. Ellie, Ellen, Stepney, this is Bloomer. She was one of my most trusted and very dependable engines. Well, it's so great to see you again, smiled Bloomer with a sleepy eye. Oh, it's quite nice to see out of these doors after all these years. But what were all those puffing sounds? Puffing, you say, smiled Bloomer. I usually make that when I'm sleeping. If I even know how much steam I have left, she whispered to no one in particular. We shall have you in full active service once we get you to the works, smiled Sir Topham Hatt. There's always room for one more. And there was, and she was very happy. But Ellie and Ellen would never stop calling her the Shadow Engine.